Hey sports fans, back at it again, and today's drop is a look at the best Ohio State Buckeyes of all time. You know the school, you know the colors, and today you're going to know the best to ever come out of this storied college and how they found their way onto the list. But first, do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe. All done? All right, onto our list. Kicking off our list at number 11, it's Nick Bosa, a force in the NFL and one of its brightest young stars, but before taking his talents to the NFL and becoming Defensive Rookie of the Year and helping the Niners boast one of the most formidable defenses in the league, Bosa the Buckeye, well, he was wrecking backfields and wreaking havoc on quarterbacks in college. The Ohio State alum was one of the best pass rushers to ever don the gray and scarlet. As a freshman, he was recognized by ESPN as a freshman All-American with his 5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. And as a sophomore, Bosa was even better, upping his sack total to 8.5 and an absurd 16 tackles for loss. The numbers were good enough to earn him first-team All-Big Ten honors as well as being named Smith Brown Defensive Lineman of the Year. The league began licking its chops for Nick Bosa, the younger brother of Joey Bosa, an Ohio State legend, and someone who is already solidifying himself in the NFL as one of the best edge rushers in the game. Nick's junior year was cut short by injury, but his 4 sacks in just 3 games were still enough to make him the second pick in the NFL draft. Going back a little further in the archive here with our number 10 entry is Jack Tatum, better known to the football world as the Assassin, a versatile player that was recruited as a running back before switching over to quarterback and finally safety, what he was best known for. Tatum was a tackle-seeking missile on defense and inflicted pain on offensive players, but could also shut down whoever he was asked to cover. He ate up space in the secondary like few before him and was noted as one of the best safeties of his day because of his versatility and overall presence on the Buckeye defense. Tatum hovered around 200 pounds but brought down fullbacks and tight ends with ease. His teammates often fed off his tenacity, and his opponents often feared the hard-hitting safety by having alligator arms when it came to passes and even avoiding contact altogether before they got assassinated by Tatum. Switching from defense to offense with our number 9 is Micheal Thomas. As a New Orleans Saint, we know Thomas is essentially unguardable, with some of the surest hands in all of football, and his name cemented in the history books as the single-season receptions record holder. But all of this, well, it didn't happen overnight. Thomas started his Ohio State career with almost no buzz at all, to the tune of 3 catches for 22 yards at 11 games. In his second season, he worked hard in the offseason and also worked his way from backup to starter and ended up leading the team in receptions, often looked to for a big catch on 3rd downs or whenever the Buckeyes needed a big play. After helping the Buckeyes win a national championship, Thomas was viewed as one of the most complete receivers in football, even if his numbers didn't always show that, never reaching 800 yards in a single season. His scouting report was still good enough to make him a second-round steal for the New Orleans Saints. And as we know, once he got to New Orleans, the rest is history, as they say, and now he's rewriting it. At number 8, from one sure-handed wide receiver to the next, our next entry is wide receiver Cris Carter. As a pro, all he did was catch touchdowns, and that became his calling card by sportscaster Chris Berman. As a Buckeye, all he did was roast defensive backs. Heavily recruited out of high school to play basketball and football, Carter was seen as a can't-miss prospect. His hands, route running, and his spectacular catch ability were off the charts. In the Citrus Bowl, while his quarterback was throwing the ball away, Carter brought down that pass in what was considered one of the best catches in college football history. Carter was as complete of a wide receiver as they come at the college level, and there were really no knocks on his game. His drops were rare, and it was known by his team and opponents alike that if it was thrown his way and considered a catchable pass, he was coming down with it. Now, Carter would also rank higher on this list if he wasn't ineligible during his senior season for signing with a sports agent. Coming in at number 7 is Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel, better known as Zeke, got his start at backup to Carlos Hyde and mainly served as a gunner on special teams, finishing the season with a modest 262 yards. Following Hyde's departure, Zeke went from Dr. Jekyll to to Mr. Hyde with his numbers and transformed into a beast for the Buckeyes, rushing for 100 yards 6 times, including a 220-yard effort in the Big Ten Championship and a 230-yard performance in the Sugar Bowl against number 1 ranked Alabama and their stacked defense en route to the national title game against the Oregon Ducks. Zeke saved his best effort for last with a 246-yard, 4-touchdown performance with the college football world watching, which was the 3rd most by an Ohio State player ever. His encore season was even better from a statistical standpoint as he topped 100 yards in 10 straight games. The list of awards and recognitions Zeke received during his college career deserve a list of their own. But let's just say Zeke was one of the top running backs to ever put on a Buckeyes uniform. The elder Bosa, Joey, checks in next on our list at number 6 and is our 2nd highest ranked defensive player. Joey had an endless motor in college and a nose for getting to the quarterback, and had his final season as a Buckeye matched his sophomore year of 13.5 sacks and an eye-popping 21.5 tackles for loss, he'd be even higher on the list. Joey Bosa is another highly decorated Buckeye, taking home just about every award and honor given to a standout defensive player and falling just short of a few others. He was also a national champion and the best defensive player on a stacked roster full of future NFL stars. There were some that said Bosa was a can't-miss prospect, while others pointed to his lack of production in his final year at Ohio State as a knock on him. But once he made it to the NFL, it was clear all of his doubters, well, they were wrong. Coming in at number 5 on the list is Eddie George. Eddie George's greatness can't be measured in statistics alone, but what the workhorse did as a Buckeye was truly amazing. Imagine knowing that a team was going to run the ball and then stacking the box and still being able to do nothing to stop them. That was Ohio State with Eddie George in the backfield. A bigger running back at 235 pounds, George was a hammer coming out of the backfield and only got stronger as the game went on. In the 4th quarter, defensive players either couldn't tackle him or they just didn't want to. Either way, Eddie was nothing short of unstoppable with the ball in his hands. Eddie wasn't used much in his freshman and sophomore years, and his junior year's production was misleading because he found himself in the doghouse after a key fumble. Eddie was taught a lesson by the coaching staff to hold on to the rock, and hold on to the rock he did during his senior year, setting the bar for Ohio State running backs until the next entry on our list happened to clear that hurdle. Coming in at number 4, and one of our 4 running backs on this list is J.K. Dobbins. Had J.K. Dobbins stuck around for his senior season, he may have been a spot or 2 higher on this list, but what he did in his 3 seasons as a Buckeye is enough to place him as the 2nd running back on a list of exceptional running backs. Dobbins rushed for over 1,000 yards each season he was at Ohio State, and he was the only running back in school history to top the 2,000-yard mark. He did all of this while averaging an astounding 6.2 yards per carry. Dobbins also split time during his first 2 seasons, and had he not, his 3-year numbers could have been even more absurd. Dobbins was as dynamic as they come, showing excellent hands and field vision. It wouldn't surprise us if he ends up being one of the most successful Buckeye running backs at the next level. At number 3, Chase Young is our top-rated defensive player in Ohio State history, and this could be a little recency bias here, but it's not even close. His production was simply off the charts, and according to some scouts, this man has no weaknesses. He possessed speed, power, and like Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa, a motor that didn't stop until the whistle was blown. There has hardly been a guy more unblockable than Chase Young, and his 30.5 sacks in his 3 years as a Buckeye are a testament to that. Down to the final 2. From a sack master to the guy that made defensive players look mediocre, his tackle, Orlando Pace. They called him the Pancake Man, and it had nothing to do with eating. Known for pancaking defensive players, the term pancake gained its popularity during the Orlando Pace era, checking in at a towering 6 foot 7 inches tall and a whopping 330 pounds. But it's not so much his size, but what he did with it that made him our number 2 Buckeye of all time. Orlando was more athletic than he looked and about as powerful as they come. He He would erase defensive players as if they weren't even on the field and was one of the best ever at keeping his quarterback upright. Pace finished 4th in the Heisman race as an offensive lineman, which many thought was a joke when it was first announced that he was on the list, as it was unheard of for an offensive lineman to ever receive the recognition, and was named as the starting tackle on the All-Century team. Pace wasn't only the best lineman in Buckeye history, he is probably the best offensive lineman to ever play college football. When you are good enough to get an award named after you, you're doing something right, and our Ohio State Buckeye at number 1 is a running back, and his name is Archie Griffin. The 2-time Heisman winner and recipient of every award he could have received at running back while he was playing, Griffin is the best offensive player to ever put on a Buckeyes jersey. Shifty, fast, and brilliant when it came to reading defenses and finding holes to run through. It's hard to find a better running back at the college level. Although there were a few to mention in that conversation, none of them were an Ohio State Buckeye. Many of these records stood for decades after his playing days and could not be broken until the game itself had evolved into a more offensive-friendly one. Had Griffin played in this era, there's no telling what he could have done statistically. He's still the only college player to win the Heisman twice, and that's a great feat that probably will never be matched. Griffin's pro career never came close to his college career, but at the college level, he was simply one of the best players to ever play the game. And as his head coach put it, he's a better young man than he is a football player, and he's the best football player I've ever seen. We believe him, Archie. We believe. All right, sports fans, that does it for our list. Let us know what you think of our countdown by dropping us a comment down below, and if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button for more lists like this one and some of the best college football content on the web. All right, until next time, sports fans, take care.